Today I want to show you my new used Ammco 4000 brake lathe. Now I have a story to tell about why I needed to buy a brake lathe. Normally when we do brake jobs we have our friendly local auto parts store resurface the brake rotors for us. We always try and resurface the brake rotors if we can to keep the cost down for our customers. But what happens is when the friendly local auto parts store, a different guy will be surfacing it every time. Depends on who's working at that time and their level of experience. Maybe they just got out of high school and started this job, or maybe they have 20 years experience. So sometimes we would get a really good job, sometimes we wouldn't. We do buy a lot of parts from our friendly local auto parts store, so sometimes depending on who was handling the interaction, they would just give it to us for free. They would comp it for us, and as long as we bought the brake parts from them. So, but we had some quality issues, and the first one being they wouldn't cut the rotor all the way to the edge. Now I have a rotor here, and what I mean by that is they would cut it in till it looked like it was at the end of the brake pad, and then they would stop. So that would leave a ridge on the inside, and that ridge would sometimes rub the brake pad and cause a noise. And the first few times that happened, it was very difficult for us to identify the problem, and we had some customer complaints with regards to it. Usually that would end up with us having to put rotors on it, and a lot of times that we would have to do that at our expense. That's no fun, having a warranty issue that's going to cost us $140 worth of rotor to make it right for the customer, costing the customer a repeat trip back. The second issue we would have would be surface finish. They would either not change their bits frequently enough, not cut it on slow enough speed. I don't know why they were having such surface finish problems, but it got really annoying. And a couple times we just rejected the rotor, sent it back, and then the third issue, which was the main issue why I had to buy this brake lathe, is they were just way too slow. I would drop it off with them, and it would take them 4 hours to do 4 brake rotors. Sometimes it would take like a massive amount of time to just do 2. And I'm not going to mention their name because they do a great job for us, just this one thing, and I really want to give good service to my customers, so I had to buy this brake lathe. Now, it is used, does have some wear issues, and I've already done some stuff to it. I grabbed that rotor right there and surfaced it, and there was a little bit of rust buildup on some stuff, and you can see here this boot is torn, and that's allowing a little bit of metal contaminants in there. I've ordered some new parts, including this boot. These were seized up. These were a little bit stiff in their bores, and I've got them moving nice and free now. If you see that. And this boot's in pretty bad shape here, and you can see it's kind of rusty. I ordered this new boot as well, and that boot tends to rotate a little bit as you're turning, and I'm going to get that taken care of. I got a new boot ordered there, but there's just a few things wrong with it. I don't pretend that I am a brake lathe expert, but I'm probably going to, just for fun, document some of the repairs I'm doing to this, and that way we can share that information on the channel. It's going to be fun for me. It's a new toy that I can play with in the shop, and honestly it's something that mechanics need to know. They need to know how to run this machine, because the Ammco 4000 is like the standard in the industry. It's used very, very widely across the automotive industry. But I seem to have got a pretty full set of adapters. This is the standard stuff that it comes with, and but I have ordered some new things that were missing. To start with, I needed a rubber coupler and some spacers, a set of shear gears. This has a set of gears inside there, so if you crash the carriage into something solid, then it will shear the gears, these plastic gears, rather than break something mechanical. And then a couple rubber silencers. I bought a spring silencer and this band silencer. And here are the new boots to cover stuff. This is the boot for the main carriage there, and this is that boot right there. And this is the new boot for that. And they've back ordered this one, but it'll be coming. But this is the first rotor I did on it, even without the new parts. I just did it with what came with the machine, and I was able to cut it in all the way, and I was able to get an excellent surface finish, and I did check run out, and it was fantastic. The following video is going to be showing using the brake drum bar or the boring bar in order to surface a flywheel. Where I used to work at the transmission shop, I used a flywheel machine for 20 years, so I might consider myself an expert at resurfacing flywheels on a flywheel machine, but I haven't done it on a brake lathe before. I am very familiar with machining. I do own a hobby mill and a lathe, so maybe you'll find this video interesting. So here's the boring bar or the brake drum bar from the lathe, and I went to loosen this and I didn't put any force on it whatsoever, and it just snapped off. I've already ground the surface clean in order to weld a nut on it to try and extract this. I've done videos on this before, but never on a brake lathe. I think I'll be able to get this out pretty easy, but I just want to document everything I'm doing to the lathe to try and help other people who have one of these old lathes. This may not work on the first attempt, but it'll probably work. Or maybe it will work on the first attempt. Put a little bit of a taper on these bolts. These are going to be temporary till I get some of the right bolts. Nice new package of tips and screws. Okay, here we go with our first attempt at resurfacing a flywheel on the brake lathe. I've already trial fit this on here, so I know these parts are going to fit. But that adapter works great. And then we put the flywheel on. And this cone fits the inner diameter of the flywheel. And then that spring. And this is there to hold the flywheel up against the adapter at the front. that looks pretty darn good. This is a two-stage flywheel. I already pre-measured, and we will cut it back to where it has the same step when we're done. We'll try and cut the exact same amount off this as we do off this. Okay, so right now we're just going to look at the amount of run out.
Or did I not have it lined up quite right?
You didn't have it lined up quite right, so
And right there we're looking at 3/1000ths run out. I'm going to work on that just a bit and see if I can fix that. Of course, we could do a scratch test and see if the runouts on the flywheel or whether it's on our setup. Okay, I've reseated the flywheel, trying to get that runout out of it, and I'm going to do a scratch test to see if the runout is due to the setup or warpage in the flywheel. Okay, did a little scratch. I'm coming away from that, and I'm turning it 180 degrees without turning any of the tooling. And nut back on. Going to turn this in just a bit for another scratch. And there's my scratch. And as I look at it, the scratches are not 180 degrees out. They're very close to starting and ending in the same spot. Since this is a two-step flywheel, I'm going to cut it on the slow setting because I definitely don't want to run the boring bar into the step. Now cutting the outside diameter, I'm cutting that on high speed because the surface finish is not nearly as important there. Take our measurement again with our H gauge. Take just a little bit more off. And this is the second cut to make the step the right size. And there we are, we're done with it. And I couldn't be happier with the surface finish. It's fantastic. And there we are. And I just couldn't be happier with that surface finish right there. If you've enjoyed the video on the brake lathe, click the like button. And if you want to donate to the continued production of these videos, visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. And if you want to watch more brake lathe videos, click that button right there. Here's another cool video, and don't forget to subscribe.